Hey, Aaron. We're back.
Beatrice, we're back. We got the
Oh,
call to
man.
be here today.
It's like a bat signal, except like I feel like we should have a version of the bat signal for like the "Are you seeing this too?" Like
Yeah.
maybe the letters. Like, oh, they called us.
Yeah.
What's the news for today?
What is happening? We're on it. Something happens, we're on it. I said we get the call. I said that specifically because we're here to talk about something phone related. Really phone
Ooh.
related. Yeah.
Have, have you got this phone that we're about
Well,
to?
we're talking about two phones today. I've got one of the two companies we're talking about. So let's cut the tension. We're talking about iPhone and Google Pixel. So
Two big players in the market. I
two
mean,
big play. Well, the big names like obviously we all know Apple and we all know Google. One is significantly bigger in the phone space because they've been at it longer and they have
mhm.
more cachet and all that stuff. So, um, you may know about Apple iPhone has about 50, well, North American has about 55% of the phone market share. Google
Mhm.
Pixel has about 5 to 7%. So it was about 5. They're inching toward that 7, and they're moving pretty quick. And we're talking about them because they're moving quickly for a reason, right?
I mean, considering how big their bases are in terms of like their initiatives and trying new things,
Yeah.
you'd think they would have taken a different direction to what they've just taken. So, Aaron, do you want to share a little bit about their recent move?
Yeah. Well, and Apple, Google, don't hate on us. We're just saying what people are saying and saying what we're seeing. But you might call it a copycat strategy. So Apple's iPhones get launched in September. Google's decided that their Pixels are going to get launched in August. So
Mhm.
let's up them by a month. Apple does these launch events and these preview events. Google said, well, let's do those for our Pixel too. Apple's got their own ecosystem of peripherals and buds, and Google said we'll make our own too. And so piece by piece, the AI assistant and capabilities, like you look at it piece by piece, you might say, cool, they're getting success and qualify it. They're getting success by following a copycat strategy. So, and I don't necessarily fault them for that. We can talk and debate it and talk about it, but that they're following a playbook that Apple has well established. So I don't know. What do you think?
I I think that's not going to help their case. I mean, if we have a look at other newcomers to the market, like the Nothing phone, they've made the brand known by not following what the industry is known for. Okay, yes, so we need to have these pretty cases. We need to have like this sleek look, these certain kinds of things that everyone's like, okay, this is just what we must be doing.
Yeah.
And nothing has gone in the other direction where, if Google is trying to increase, their 7%, like to a bigger percent, like the share, this is not going to be it. You're if you're so busy looking at what everybody else in the market is doing, who's
Yeah.
covering your back?
Now explain the Nothing phone because I don't know that people are all that tuned
Mhm.
into what they're doing. I think it's maybe if one of those, if you know, you know. But what do you like about them, or what are you seeing that they're doing that the big players are not?
So I think they've been out for a few years now, and they made a point of really building up the launch in terms of being unlike, you know, um, iPhone, unlike Samsung, etc. And because like they're cutting out all of these expensive extras, which aren't necessarily required. They still have like good quality camera, etc., but without the crazy price tag that comes with like buying an Apple phone, that comes with buying a Samsung. And you know, it makes it very much accessible to everybody.
Hmm.
So it's almost becoming like, hey, we're the people's phone, we're the
Yeah.
people's brand, and they've leaned into this connection because I mean, recently, the Jaguar rebrand that we were all talking about, where they're like, they made their new slogan like "Copy Nothing," and
Right.
nothing. They were quick to jump on that and be like,
Because
"Yeah,
that's
I
their
think so."
brand, part of their brand identity. They're nothing.
It's
Well,
like,
yeah. And they have a little bit of like an underground appeal, like almost like the
mhm,
unphone, right?
yes,
Which might be trademarked or copyrighted by someone else. I don't know. But they're, yeah, it's like it is seems like one of those, and they may break wide open and capture a percentage of the market. I'm guessing it's pretty small at this point, at least stateside. But they just by being the reaction to the major companies, or being the antidote, they may get people to say, yeah, let's go unphone. But the challenge there is then in order to support a growing customer base, they have to become a major company, and they have to build the ecosystem, and they have to invest in marketing and all those things. So if they get to that level, they're going to be just maybe a third choice, right? Um, they probably will fall in line like everybody else at some point, or stay under the radar and stay fractional in terms of market share.
I think there's something to be said about not following what everybody else in the industry is doing. And I'm not saying go crazy with it. Like just pick like one thing to disrupt. For
Hmm.
nothing phone, it was like the gaudy, like just going over the top with the packaging,
Yeah,
which added a lot onto the price. So, for listeners in terms of your business, look at like, hey, what's something in this industry that it's always been done that we're just automatically following it,
yeah,
and it doesn't necessarily add on to, or like it makes things more challenging for your customers.
yeah.
There is that opportunity to come in from the back and like, take on that guerrilla marketing, same as what Virgin did with Richard Branson. He came in, no money to his name, and I mean, look at the brand now.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's interesting what Apple's done, because Apple has typically had a wait and see kind of strategy.
Mhm.
So they didn't make the first phone. They didn't make the first MP3 player back in the day. They waited till the market proved itself out, and then they came and made the superior version of it. So the
Exactly.
fact that now they're so far ahead on the phone, adoption and market adoption, it makes them seem like the category originator, like iPhones have always been there, and of course iPhone is the standard and things like that. So anybody, whether even someone with the might of Google, to come up and say, well, we've got a phone too. The fact, I guess, that they've gotten to the market's pretty huge. The fact they've gotten to 5 to 7% adoption in the span that they've gotten, competing against the dominant player of iPhone, is a testament, I guess, to the strategy working, maybe some of the technical, you know, preferences that people have. I think the difference between the two, just from an optics standpoint, is Google's Pixel phone is more like, what can I do with this phone? What are the capabilities? What can I accomplish with it? iPhone has some of that, but it's also, well, how do I look with it? Does it reflect
Mhm.
me? That's always Apple's like part of your identity. I don't see people having a Pixel. There's no Pixel identity yet. Um,
I mean, that's
Maybe
on
there is,
them.
but like, huh?
That's on them. They like, Apple has
Yeah,
associated themselves. Like they've done quite well in terms of the brand and being like, okay, we want to make sure all of our business decisions are based on being associated as like a creatives kind of brand.
right.
And so that's automatically, you think of that association. I'm a creative or I'm a designer or whatever. Of course, I'm going to have like, it's almost like the market already helps for that. And that is what you aim for as a
Yeah,
brand, like
for sure. Yeah.
to build a certain kind of association. And that's what Google should be focusing on instead. It's like, okay, what do we want to be associated to? What
Yeah,
kind of image? Because
totally.
copying Apple's not going to do it
I
unless
would,
unless
yeah.
it's a different industry. Then in which case it's open game.
Something Apple's doesn't already have their fingerprints all over.
Exactly. I mean, if you look at I forgot the name. It's like a phone case.
Yeah.
Um, it's one that they've been inspired by the fashion industry.
Oh, okay.
And so instead of having all of their cases like 50 cents, $1, whatever, right? They usually tend to be very cheap. You can't actually make money. They went the Apple route and the fashion route and associated their brand with all the elegant like brands, the fashion
Sure.
figures, celebrities.
Yeah.
And so now you can't get a phone case from them for below $100.
Yeah.
And they have lines. So they were inspired by Apple with the lines and the exclusivity. So the thing is, have a look at other industries. What
Mm,
can you learn from the fashion industry, or what can you learn from the real estate industry? Pick a completely different industry, and there you might find some ideation.
okay. Well, Google's well well distributed in where they put their focus and energy. So again, I give them credit for the market share they've already gotten for the short length of time, relatively compared to the iPhone and compared to the mobile market. As long as mobile technology's been available, Google, if you
Hmm.
charted it, Google Pixel would be like this big, right? So the fact that they've gotten to the point they've gotten is impressive. But again, like bringing it back, you could say I'm an Apple person or I'm an iPhone person. You kind of you get a visual in your head of what that is.
Yeah.
If you say I'm a Pixel person, I don't know yet. So I think you're saying do it instead. Like come up with what is a Pixel per. I say do it in addition. I don't think following another playbook, if it's successful, which it is it's not hurting them to any degree. I don't see a big consumer pushback saying, yeah, Pixel, we don't like you because you're too similar to Apple. Maybe that at the point of purchase, that's a point of tension, but I don't hear a lot of consumer complaint that there's this copycat dynamic. I think people who are at ride and die Apple are staying there. People who are curious are going Pixel maybe, but I think the brand piece is also. I don't think it's instead of what they're doing. That's my take.
Yeah. I mean, don't forget, like one of the biggest competitors there is Samsung, and they're not going to be giving up their space anytime soon. I think what
Yeah,
Google has been doing, like building this kind of ecosystem. You got Google, which is kind of becoming slightly extinct. Okay, I see they've integrated the AI into their search, but it's not super reliable compared to the other platforms. You've got all of the different Google Docs, Google Meets, etc. Like they've built out this full ecosystem. So there is that potential to kind of lean into that ecosystem and lending to that. But there is that very real danger if you're following too close to one another. It could become a blockbuster. So you were talking about Apple being the market leader.
yeah,
You don't know what the next day, or what could be the next invention that could completely you know make them useless, or make their main product
that's
not necessary.
possible. Yeah, it's possible. Apple's not going anywhere without a fight. They're in this.
They've got enough clout to at least make some moves, and it's all in the mindset.
Yeah.
So in terms of smaller businesses, definitely have a look to uh, other industries.
Yep.
Have a look to things that are overly done that you can do differently.
Yep.
And for this season, we just want to let everybody know this is a 10 episode season of Are you seeing this too? So this is the penultimate.
Yep.
Is that the right word? My
That
brain
is
was
the
like,
right word.
nope.
It's a good word.
The penultimate like episode of Are You Seeing This Too? So there will be one more next Thursday, like one grand finale. To bring some like fire.
Supersize it. All right. So yeah, lesson learned, copycat strategy, not necessarily bad, but pay attention to where you don't lose yourself in that, in the process, and figure out who you are while you're following an established playbook. This works for other, B2B companies or other size companies. And then pay attention to the outliers, like the nothing phone that's not playing that game and kind of carving their own lane, and they're going to be an interesting one to watch. So I would check them out too. So yeah, we'll see you in a week and wrap up our series. And yeah, good stuff, right?
Exactly. Guys, if you have any thoughts or companies that you'd like us to tackle next week, drop it in the comments. And until then, stay badass.
See you soon.